painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking. KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Artbeat. Artbeat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Artbeat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Whip out your lenses because this week on Artbeat, we get a backseat look at Google Earth through a looking glass with the kooky professor from Phelps, Professor Patrick Lichty. Professor Lichty spent some time in the United Arab Kingdoms when he met his wife, Negin Ehtesabian. Together, they've created pieces of art that can be seen over at the Watkins Gallery. I'm Dylan Alzate, and sit back and grab some snacks. And please don't chew so loud as we chat with Pat about his side of Google Earth today on Artbeat. All right, well, we're joined back in here with Patrick Lichty, professor here at Winona State University. How's it going?
Absolutely. Well, it's doing okay, all things considered, I think, yeah.
Good.
As people say, oh, there's got to be a subtext here, but that's all right, we're fine.
Yeah. But your day was good?
My day was good.
Good. So we're here to discuss your new released art exhibits.
Yes.
Google Earth, was it?
Google Earth, yeah, through a looking glass, which is at Watkins Gallery here at lovely Winona State University.
Awesome. And this is a collaboration, I heard.
Yes, it is. It's between myself and my dear wife, Negin Ehtesabian, who is currently actually at the moment still waiting to come here from Tehran, Iran.
Awesome. And she's all good, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, things are all right over there. You know, it's just the as they are. But what happens is that they'll be better when she's here.
And we'll be keeping positive.
Exactly.
We'll keep a positive attitude, hoping that things go well.
Exactly. It's like what is it? Like a sodium ion.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
I was about to say we can look through a positive looking glass.
Exactly. That's fantastic. All right. So what would you like to know?
Oh, well, I want to know what this show features. I have seen it and I'm quite interested, but just to get you to.
In other words, so what you want is that you kind of want you want the pitch. Okay.
Yeah,
so let me give you the pitch. So here's the thing is that actually a very interesting thing is that she and I have known each other for Negin Ehtesabian is my wife. And so we have known each other for about 12 years, and there's a noted other Iranian artist who's now in the United States by the name of Mohsen Al-Yari, who just did a run at the Whitney in New York. And but the thing is there was a project where she had 3 Iranian artists and 3 American artists speaking through a Turkish artist, because the thing is that because of the way things work, at the time you had to send things through Turkey to get things from the United States to Iran and back and forth. So, you ever hear like the telephone game, which is why in the show I have an Iranian stew can and a Campbell's soup can on the other side. So in other words, the idea that there's things kind of get mixed up from side to side. So what happens is that they'd make up some instructions and it'd go through the person in Turkey, and then we'd make some artworks and get confused and go through the other side. Well, I never met her in person, but then let's see here. I spent 6 years in the United Arab Emirates, and I never really expected this to go this direction. But what happened was that I was going on a trip through Georgia, Azerbaijan, and through Central Asia, and I looked I looked her up on Instagram. We started talking. We met in Azerbaijan, which is right on the Caspian Sea, right next to Iran, and we asked to marry on the second day. So we've been married for 5 years, but we lived for 2 years in Abu Dhabi and Iran, in the United Arab Emirates, where I used to work last time. The interesting thing is that she's never been to the United States yet, and I've never been to Iran. The only way we could visit anything was by having our virtual reality headset on and visiting through virtual reality through Google Earth VR. So we traveled around all over the place. And we had a lot of fun visiting New York and Chicago and Tehran and actually Baku and Azerbaijan and all that sort of thing. And we decided to do a whole bunch of artwork about it. I've done drawings and paintings, and actually the two, we should probably talk about these two stretched pieces by hers. By the way, those are reproductions. Those are prints from large-scale photographs. And the thing is the real pieces are still there. And we've done tapestries and videos and such about our experiences, basically kind of reflecting on each other's countries, but from not being in the other person's country. And so in a way, what we're doing is that we're looking at each other's home country, through a screen. And so this is what we're coming up. We're making artwork about it. And this is pieces of it have shown at the Southampton Art Center in New York and at University of Wyoming. And this is the first time that this has shown. It's about 90% of it. And this is as much as we could fit in, and this is the first time it has pretty much shown in its entirety here at lovely Winona State University at Watkins Gallery.
Awesome. So I went in there and I saw a few pieces that were the tapestries that looked like rugs.
Yes.
Those were prints that you and...
They're not prints.
Okay.
So here's a little bit of digital history.
Gotcha.
So the first digital form of fabrication is the jacquard loom. And basically, the thing is, it's a form of loom that in the beginning used digital punch cards, like holes in it that would take the little picks up and down that would create the patterns and that sort of thing. And you'd have these things strung together, and you'd hit a pedal and move to the next set. You do that. And there's digital ones now. So the thing is that this isn't a print. This is actually taking about 24 different colors of actual Egyptian cotton. And what you're doing is that you are literally weaving a pattern using almost like using digital technology. So by the way, that was invented in 1803. So in other words, that's the first digital fabrication method. So what's interesting is that those were generated using AI, which is the latest digital method using the earlier digital method. And those things that look like Persian carpets have to do with Negin sending me about 1,000 images from Iran of carpets, and me feeding them into an artificial intelligence system, me getting the most interesting ones because you can't ship anything out of Iran, and so me having them refabricated here.
Okay.
Right?
So she sends you a picture of a carpet, you have it.
Well, the thing is, about 1,000 of them, and I put them in an artificial intelligence system, and I basically let them mix up carpets from Isfahan, from Yaz, from Tehran, from wherever, or by the Baluches, or by the Kurds, and things like that. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And I take that image, and then I send it off to the loom, and get it built.
Ooh. That's really interesting.
So what happens is the fact that we're not breaking any laws, but the one thing is that, you can't have a Persian carpet. But the thing is that you can have you can have a tapestry of a Persian carpet woven from images from Iran in the United States.
That's a loophole right there.
You think?
I don't know.
Maybe I think so.
I mean, you probably just gave a government a reason to.
No. I mean, there's nothing illegal about it. I mean, the one thing is that there are, it's difficult actually to communicate with Iran because of a lot of blocks put up by the government, on both sides, and so that's the thing. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to basically kind of explore the notion of digital freedom in that case.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it. I really like that. Let me see. So what would be the purpose of presenting these looms or a bunch of other very interesting pieces?
Well, I mean, so let's put it this way. What in the end would be a purpose like something like Google Earth is that, I mean, on one hand, it's a love story, and people love that sort of thing, and actually, we have a very, that's most definitely the two of us. But the thing that's interesting is that our story is so unique. In other words, we met through the internet as collaborators. And then when I was working in the Middle East, we decided to meet. We got married, and just through no fault of our own, we've been separated for the last couple years, and but even when we were in the United Arab Emirates, we realized that we couldn't go to the other person's country, so we decided to make all these artworks. And so I think what happens is that what's interesting about this is that how does one person see another person's country when you've only seen it either through VR or through movies or things like that? Because she grew up on Hollywood stuff, and I see stuff through reels on Instagram and all that sort of thing. And so the thing is, I've got this image, she's got this image, we're making artwork about it, and so it's I think it's really interesting that you're making an art exhibition about a family that has only seen each other's country
Through a looking glass.
Through a looking glass.
That's
right.
Right.
Bingo. Woo! You got it.
We're on a roll.
Yep.
So,
or at least hamburger bun.
Yes.
Okay.
So we kind of went over some of the looms and the Persian carpet tapestries.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the other pieces. I noticed that there was a special one up in the front where you just enter the room.
Okay. So this is a piece. This has to do with all the things that we've done, since we've been together. I curated a museum show in Limassol, Cyprus, called Through the Mesh, which was all about about the dynamics of power between like power of conventional power, like politics versus information politics, like how Facebook would almost like to be its own country, Yeah. But the interesting thing about this is that there's a form of art called mail art, and what we wanted to do is that we wanted to take a self-portrait of her and basically pull it apart and use it, create it as mail art, and then send it from Tehran to Limassol, which is in Greek Cyprus. But we found out it was going to be $800. So what happened is that she took the cards, she built this piece together, and this is really kind of about how when someone from a third world country, who has a passport that isn't like the United States, who has a lot of problems getting places, what happens when you're going across the border? In other words, you're either leaving something behind, or there's something that kind of gets taken away from you, or you wind up, as she says, in pieces, and you've been deconstructed and reconstructed and deconstructed and reconstructed, and this is how you are when you're someone from the third world who travels the world. In other words, is that you're somebody who's been torn apart and rebuilt, constantly.
Wow. Oh.
It's an intense piece. And then the other thing is that the two carpets on the side are, we wanted to actually have those done as real Persian carpets and this is how we first started getting, working with contemporary Persian designs in jacquard looms is the fact that there were issues with her getting them done traditionally. So these are the first ones that I fabricated here in the United States, and this is one called Mer, which is one of the words for love, and which comes up a lot actually in the show, and one is a contemporary reinterpretation of 19th century Persian carpets, but one is a man and a woman, and we call that family, and then two young women called sisters. And that stands for a lot of things. It's like the younger parts of a family, or solidarity among women, and that sort of thing in Iran and all that. So that's really what you get when you come into the front of the front of the exhibition.
Ooh. And that's really interesting when hearing it being explained. I mean, as well as there is some descriptions to it on the side of the pieces, but hearing it in more greater detail is very interesting. Mm-hmm. So, is there any other? Tell us some more about some of the art involving.
What else is going on? Okay, let's see here. I think that there are. I'll kind of say that there are maybe about like 5 areas to keep in mind. Is that so? In the front, there's a large television screen, and it has actually some of the actual footage that we did when we first started playing around in Google Earth VR. Ooh. So this is really the core moments that started this whole thing. Actually, it's us flying around in Manhattan, actually. And there's just little things, these maps with little pictures of us from WhatsApp and whatnot flying around. But this is the core. This is the core of the whole thing. This is us seeing our other countries, through a headset. And then you go to the side, and you can see that there are some drawings that I did from Google Earth. There are some pictures of her in her wedding dress. She called this white dress. It's an ongoing performance piece where she puts herself in various situations. One is really amazing. Is there's one picture where you see her just off in the middle of the desert, and she is literally almost where they filmed Dune.
Almost
the movie, almost exactly where they filmed Dune. Ooh. So in the middle of the Abu Dhabi desert, so that's really kind of interesting. And then, a couple pictures, one of Lijon, which is up in northeastern Iran, and then the other side, Chicago. So, and that's kind of cool. That's going on in the front. And then there are 2 stretched pieces that she did, and these are right now reproductions of pieces that they don't exist like this anymore. For almost 4 years now, she's been working on these 6x6 pieces. These are Negin Ehtesabian's pieces, mm-hmm. And they're called let's see here, Google Earth Iran not, and Google Earth USA not. In other words, basically they are, but they're not. So what happens is that, as a person who grew up, surrounded by American culture and who lived in, who's been in Iran most of her life.
Yeah.
There's all this symbology, So on the United States side, we can see there are things like Mickey Mouse, McDonald's fries, the Statue of Liberty.
Like they're all symbols of Western culture.
Right. But also on the other side, there are things that if you're Iranian, you would recognize. You'd say like there's the famous Azadi Tower that you see, That's up in the upper left-hand corner. And then there's also, that was created in the Shah's time. And then there was the famous Milad Tower, which is on the northwest side of town in Tehran. And it was built by the Republic. And the thing is that it is, shall we say, in an interesting position in regards to the to Azadi Tower. We won't. Well, I'll let you go and see what's going on there. But the thing is that then there are other places. A lot of it very, very sad, because there's a lot of tragic things that happened, under the Republic. There are like the doorways of the university where so many students were shot during the 2009 Green Revolution. Basically, some tragic figures from Iranian culture, and this is really interesting if you think about it, because what happens is that if you're Iranian, this is much more accessible than this other one. But we see these things as America, but this is America as seen by an Iranian,
right?
And then I think the most interesting piece is that on the other side of the wall from In Pieces, there's another one called Mare City, which is basically, once again, Mare being love, and so you see it's these street maps, but it's basically a composite of all of the cities we've been in. So in other words, on the left-hand side, you see Chicago, where we kind of sort of met virtually. We in the capital of Azerbaijan, Baku, where we got engaged. Fethiye on the south shore of Turkey, where we got married. Abu Dhabi, where our home was before. Basically our only home together was, and Sao Paulo, Brazil, where we've been together. And so this is just this composite, and we kind of call it Love City. That in other words, all these places where we've been together in a huge tapestry.
Interesting. So, here's my off the hook question.
Okay.
How many pennies do you think could fit into this room?
Wow, that's very interesting. Well, okay, so I'm gonna put this into another thing. Is that a relative who unfortunately is no longer with us said once, when we were once going by a cemetery once, they said, "Hey Patrick, I wonder how many people are dead in that?" And I said, "All of them." So, and I just said, it's like, because how many pennies do you think go in here? I said, I think all of them. But the thing is then to find what all is, Yeah,
so, what does all mean?
All the pennies that can fit in this in this room. But the thing is
that still doesn't.
Now, you know what? This brings us to the Monty Python moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So a European or an African swallow. So think about it this way. Now, have you seen a penny these days? So what happens is that they're largely no longer so much copper, and the thing is they're much smaller. So what happens is that, so say, for example, what I would ask you then, I said, what do you, are you talking about a pre-1990 penny, or are you talking about a post-1990 penny? So the thing is that, there would be far more, like, I don't know when the pennies changed. I'd say maybe 2010. 2010 pennies. I'd say you probably have at least 25% more 2010 plus pennies than you would have 2010 minus pennies. But we haven't got the numbers. But I think what we have is that we've gotten the concept.
Okay.
But beyond that, you got me.
I got you beat.
Yeah, you got me beat. Yeah. I might get through a number, but let's put it this way: I'm blowing smoke.
I can see the gears. I can hear the gears turning in your head.
No. Actually, the thing is, what you're doing is you're hearing teeth snap off. That's it. Okay.
Well, okay then. So, back on subject.
Yep.
What do you hope that audience members would get out of this exhibition?
What's the takeaway? I think the takeaway from this is that I think the takeaway that I want people to have from from Google Earth VR is that the world is huge. We see it from vastly different viewpoints. I think many ways, the American point of view is that we're all, we're all equal, we're all the same. That's a matter of point of view. The thing is that we have vastly different cultures, we have vastly different notions of privilege in the world. We have we have different food, So I think this is because we're about 6:00. I'm starting to get hungry. But what happens is the fact that what I'd like people to do to take away from this is something that I've really thought about, having lived all over the world, is the fact that we truly do not understand one another at a core level unless we have really sat down and spent time with one another, gotten to listen to them deeply, or even lived with them. And then sometimes it's a long time before we get to that point. So what I'd like to kind of see is that I hope that people coming to the exhibition see something familiar, and then maybe see something really unfamiliar, but still have a sense of wonder about it.
Interesting.
And maybe a sense of, I think there's beauty in the unfamiliar.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When there's something that you can't quite describe, you don't know what something is. You can't tag it for, this is this, and that's some.
But there it is.
There it is, and it's sometimes amusing, and it's beautiful.
That's it. And the thing is that then, what I would hope is that then, say it's like, wow, that I don't know, but I don't know what it is, but there it is, and you know what? Maybe I want to know more, but I think that's maybe the professor in me.
Well, I was taking a look at I was at Watkins, and I saw the America, but not the America not.
Yeah.
And I didn't even look at the title, and I immediately saw that is America. Because I noticed the symbolic meaning, the symbolic pieces that demonstrate Western culture.
Well, sure, but you know what happens is that, but that's America through the eyes of someone, and Iran has a very, special connotation for America, of course, and things like, so this is how she sees us. You've got McDonald's, you got Barbie, you got all these things,
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's very interesting that one thing that's super interesting is that Iranians have been sort of bathed, in American culture far more than we have bathed in Iranian culture, because we are the world's, one of the centers of media production. And so what happens is that in many ways we're all just, it's like we have these images of our culture going everywhere. But the one thing is that, what? Actually, the one thing is that we can kind of say, what do we know about Iranian culture? Well, guess what? 1001 Nights.
Yeah.
And they say it's Arabian Nights, but actually they were assembled by the Arabs, but they were originally Persian stories. Scheherazade was a Persian queen.
And that shows how much that you've embedded yourself in Iranian culture.
Well, and the thing is that, and of course, I think the one thing that's important to talk about is the idea of culture of a country versus a culture of a people, and I think it's very important to really kind of talk about about Persian culture.
Right.
And so this is something that, I've most definitely been very close to for, a long time. And it's really been a fantastic education.
I'm glad. Have you and your wife done something like this in the past?
So this particular, okay. Have Negin and I done something like this in the past? Actually, there are two things. Is that on one hand, there was our friend who we met through, her name is an artist named Mortian Aliari. She did a piece called My Day, Your Night, which was the fact that, so say, for example, it's 6 o'clock in the evening that we're taping this right now. And right now it's 8.5 hours ahead. So it's the middle of the night. So what happens is it's what does it mean to be having a conversation where you can only have a conversation with someone for maybe 6 hours a day? So we did these pieces, with our three artists, and and this was in 2012, and we had a show in Texas with them, and then this particular show, pieces of this, as we've been building this, and we're hoping to keep expanding this exhibition. It first showed at the through a friend of ours who's the head of the Design Center at University of Wyoming, Brandon Gellis. It was at University of Wyoming, and then it was part of a group show called Techspressionism, Digital and Beyond, in April of 2022 at the Southampton Arts Center near New York City. So we've had a few of these pieces out and around, but this is the first time that we've had this entirety together. But she and I collaborate all the time, and so we have, pieces that we've done together. But I think the important thing is that there's, there are about 3 or 4 times in which we've had these collections of the work that we put together, and I think these things are important because they show a combined, a shared life that is lived through very unusual circumstances. And that, I think, is a really deep message, because the fact that we're in the middle of the immigration, sort of thing, and it's been taking a while. And, it's kind of that sort of story. And, it's, I think what's really important about this is that it gives a personal story about international love and families, and what we experience and what we live and what we endure.
So do you plan on doing more of these kinds of shows in the future, specifically, hopefully, when your wife immigrates to America?
Oh, absolutely. As I said, this is an ongoing exhibition that keeps expanding as we grow as a family, and we keep having these conversations. But then on the other hand, what's going to happen is that I'm almost calling this, this Google Earth, kind of like beta version 0.03. So what happens is that when it goes to beta, when it goes to version 1.0 is when she's here.
Right.
Is that then what happens is that what happens to the sensibility of the work that we do together, as versus the what happens when we start doing work when she actually can see the United States in person, and we start traveling and having fun times. And then what if things get better overseas, and what happens if I go to Iran? And so these would be, this changes the story entirely. So these are the things that we look forward to.
Right. And we'll also be looking forward to the moment when Through the Looking Glass goes from beta 0.1 to beta 1 or demo.
Goes from through looking glass, but to a bright mirror.
Through a little microscope.
That's right.
Wearing someone else's glasses. Someone else's.
Okay, well, anyway, that opens the door. Anyway, okay.
It's a door, and
Yep.
All right. So, if someone was interested into viewing more of your wife's art, where could they? Is there any place where they could find it?
Yeah, actually, you can find a lot of Negin Ehtesabian's work at neginet.com, neginete.com. My websites are, shall we say, very akimbo at the moment. I'm at Pat Lichty or patricklichty.com, but you can usually find me at Instagram at @PatLichty_art at Instagram, and I do have a Pat Lichty X Twitter and Blue Sky and Mastodon and all these things, but primarily you find me on Instagram, where I'm watching Pablo the race cat.
And making your own Pablo the race cat.
Totally, exactly, yes.
Right. Ooh, all right. Awesome. Is there any other kind of final sentiments that you'd like to mention before we...
Well, I hope that one thing that I hope that people do is please come see this, because this will be up through the end of October. This is a really long run. I want to thank Roger Boulay and the Art Gallery Committee for having us, and and on the other hand, is that I hope that people come to it without preconceptions, because of the fact that I think you'll be surprised, and I hope that you'll experience maybe a little bit of the sliver of the love that we do, and the curiosity about the world that we have as we've spent, in our way about a decade together in the international sphere.
Awesome. Well, Patrick, I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yep.
And we'll be looking forward to more, and we'll be looking more for your art and your wife's art. So.
Okay, that's fantastic. And the one thing is that I just really have one last thing to say, and that's molybdenum.
Oh, for Pete's sake. A huge thanks to Professor Lichty for joining us on today's episode of Artbeat. Tune in next week where we call in with his wife from Iran, Negin Ehtesabian, to get her side of this collaborative project. And be sure to check out Googled Earth at the Watkins Gallery, open until October 4th, with the opening reception Thursdays at September 7th between 5 to 7 p.m. To check out more from Professor Lichty, follow him on Instagram at @PatLichty_art, or visit his website at patlichty.com. To check out the work from Negin Ehtesabian, visit neginet.com. That's NAGINETE.com. Lastly, to check out more art and more beautiful events around town, tune into Artbeat Tuesdays at 12:30 here on 89.5 KQAL. Online at kqal.org, on the app, on your favorite smart speaker, or wherever you get your general pod stuffs. I'm Dylan Alzate, signing off.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.